This is a drawing of the piece of paper with a hole in it that I've got in front of me. Okay? Can you all see that?
Yep. Yep.
And I'd like you all to make a drawing of your piece of paper. Now, I'm just going to refine what I did with this piece of paper, if you don't mind. I'm going to refold, close it up. Let me just spotlight my hand. Okay. And I'm going to cut off about an inch from the top. So there's the bit that is cut out. I've drawn a line across there, and I'm just going to cut that off, and I'd like you to do the same. It makes a slightly smaller piece of paper.
Sorry, I didn't get it.
So can you refold your piece of paper up?
Yes.
Have the little cut out square down the bottom nearest to you. And then draw a line that's about an inch from the top across the top here. So these are the open ends, okay? Okay, now take your scissors and just cut that strip off. It just will make your piece of paper that you're going to draw that bit smaller. That's all it'll do. So I'm going to replace that on there. It's just a little bit smaller than how it was before. Okay? Relay it on your piece of white paper in front of you so that it's open. And as you will see, it doesn't need to be absolutely flat. In fact, it's more interesting if it's not. And then I want you to take a piece of, well, obviously a piece of paper on your board. And then I simply want you to make a drawing of it, and I'll do it with you. This was the one I did this afternoon. And it's quite an interesting thing to draw because there are lots of cast shadows and it requires a variety of mark making. So we'll kind of do it together, if you don't mind. Okay, so I'm going to remove this one and get my fresh piece of paper. I'm using an A3 piece of white paper, and I'm starting off with a B grade pencil.
Okay.
But if you want to start off with an HB, that's fine too. So we're aiming for something that looks like a piece of paper sitting on a paper.
Piece of paper sitting on a paper.
Yes, a piece of paper sitting on a piece of paper.
Yeah. Okay.
So in other words, a representation of what you've got in front of you. Now, this is good practice in just basically judging the length of lines and shapes. So I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to start on the top edge, and then I'm going to work my way around the outer shape, okay? Now, the top of it is not a straight line. It's because the paper is lifted up off the table, I can see something that looks like this at the top. It's slightly going down in a curve like that. Okay? Because the paper is lifted up off the table. Then I've got, well, if I carry on, I've got the line that goes down the middle, which is about that length, not as long as that one, because remember there's a square cut out or in the middle here. And then I'm going to draw the other top edge. So the other top edge is again a kind of curve that goes like that. If you imagine an open book with open pages, this is kind of similar to what we would be drawing. We wouldn't be drawing it as straight lines because they're not straight lines in this situation we've got in front of us. Okay?
But this is on a completely different sheet of paper.
Yes, this is a completely different sheet of paper that I'm drawing on.
So take that away and start again, in other words.
Well, you're going to be drawing your piece of paper you cut the hole out of, so have that in front of you, like I have.
And then on a completely different sheet of paper.
And on a completely different sheet of paper, we're making a drawing of that piece of paper that you've cut the hole out of.
Where are you starting, please? Where are you starting the drawing?
I started at the top of my page because I want to leave room below. I mean, if you think about this drawing here that I did earlier on, Chris, exactly the same thing. I started at the top. I did those 2 lines. I did the little line down here.
Through the middle.
Yes, and then I worked my way around the edges. So just keep it a simple outline to start off with. Okay, so this is what I've got here. I've drawn the top edge of the top piece of the piece of paper, the very top edge on the horizontal, and then this other line here. And now I'm going to do the other side. So the other side comes down as well to about the same place as this one will come down. So they'll both be roughly the same length. So if you want to check it with your pencil or whatever, you can.
And then
I've got the little line down the middle to where the hole is.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to draw one side of the hole, which is a curve going up. And then the other side of the hole, which is another curved line going up. That's one side of the hole. That's the other side of the hole. Now I'm going to do the edges of the hole. So I'm going to do first this edge, and then the other edge. Now it's probably useful to draw the horizontal fold. So I'm going to literally draw a straight line that goes across to the outer edge on both sides, one that way and one this way. Okay?
Yeah.
Now I think it's useful to complete the hole. So I'm going to draw the left-hand side, the bottom edge, which isn't very long, and then the right-hand side the same, more or less. And then now the tricky bit comes. Now it's probably quite useful to go back to this fold line here, the one that comes down from the top, and imagine you're drawing a line all the way through that hole, and then begin to start to put in where it starts, which is like this. So that, if you want to watch me, I'm now going to do the bottom edge. Now it's a curve going up and a curve coming down to the right, like so. So you've got that sort of it's almost like a little butterfly in the middle.
Can you,
or a bow.
Can you do it a bit darker?
You see it? Yes?
Sort of, yeah.
And then all we have to do now is to complete the bottom silhouette shape. So you can go from the left and carry that line down And I'm probably going to make it a similar length to the one at the top. Or maybe a bit shorter as it's in perspective. So I'm going to make this line here slightly shorter than the one at the top. So, yeah, that makes sense. And then you just join up the line like that. In fact, it probably goes more like this. Right. And then the other one on the other side, the same thing. You're doing a sort of curvy line that comes up like this, and then bring the side down to meet it. Slightly exaggerated mine. It's probably a little bit longer than that. Okay. Has everybody got a shape that looks like that, sort of? I mean, if you want to, those of you that perhaps maybe feel a bit more confident, you could draw the outer piece of paper. So there is some sort of sense of it being on a piece of paper. So, and I'd like you to try and do this freehand, no rulers, please. Straight line down.
Hang on, got that there. There.
I'm going to zoom out a wee bit because otherwise you won't be able to see. And I'm going to do a line across here. Hope that I can draw it straight.
What?
Yeah. Not very good. And then, oh, God, that's terrible. Sorry. I have to turn my board. And then a line going up the side. The same thing, just to give a sense of it sitting on the piece of paper. And then one across the top. Okay. The only straight lines we have are these ones down the side and the ones across the middle. Those are the only straight lines, and the ones down this one here where the folds are. But the actual outer edge at the top and the bottom are following the shape as it's folded. And it's lifted up off the paper, so it creates that sort of a shape. I think what we'll do now is, Chris, you just have another look at yours. And I'm going to completely spotlight mine. I'm going to take this away because this is not helping you. Okay, that's what you should have on your paper at the moment, something similar to that. This is the hole.
Yeah, got that.
And this is the bottom edge.
Yeah.
And this is the top edge.
We shouldn't be straight. Mine is straight.
No, it's the papers. My paper's lifted up off the table, so it can't be straight. It's creating, if you look at it, that this is like a hill, and this is like another hill. Got at the moment. I'm just going to go back to the drawing I did earlier on and just re-explain. I mean, obviously, I've got this big shape here at the bottom, and it creates a beautiful cast shadow underneath it. Okay. Similarly, if you look at the hole, because I've got a spotlight coming in from the left, it's creating again lovely dark shadows here and here and here. And where the paper is sort of going from the crease line and it's slightly curling up, there's also a kind of shadow there, and then there's a shadow being created by this piece of paper, which is sort of curling over. All right. Now, so the next step for all of you who've actually already got your shape in is to begin to put in where the shadows are. And just note that some of them are obviously darker than others. So don't go doing them all the same. I did use my finger when I was pushing in the tone here to stop my pencil going beyond that line. I made myself go like this. I used my pencil on its side and created the shading that way. I then, which is something I don't normally do, but I think for this exercise it's really quite good. I got a piece of paper towel, wrapped it round my finger, and then worked my way round on those that shading to make it really soft, because the transition of those shadows is really imperceptible as it comes from the dark halftone into the light, and you can get that softness if you use this. Okay, did everybody hear that? Can everybody see what I've done? Yeah. Okay, so the other thing to note is that don't use the same weight of line all the way around the shape. Vary it. So in some places it's more shadowy on the edge, and in other places it goes really light and you can barely see it at all. And then you can just not have a line there. You know, that will make the actual drawing of this much, much more interesting. And the reason we're doing this is in preparation for drawing the carrier bag or the paper bag or whatever it is that you've chosen to draw. Okay, so I think the other thing to bear in mind is I would start at the top and work down, simply because once you put the shading in, you've got to be very careful, like when we did the exercise the week before last, that you don't pick up the graphite on the back of your hand and drag it down over your drawing. I mean, having another piece of paper under your hand like this is probably a good idea because it protects your work as you're doing it. So I'll just show you with this one line. I've just gone over it with my pencil on its side. I thickened it a bit because in that fold it's quite dark. So, but I would like to soften it a bit. So I'm going to just go round and round in circles with my finger with the paper towel. So it sort of creates a bit of tone either side of that fold. This side has got no tone on it at all. So I'm just going to rub it out and make it completely white, because that edge, this side of the paper is actually in bright light. That side is more shadowy. And then if I want to, I could increase the line or the darkness a little bit more. But this side I'm going to develop. I'm going to make this have more shading on it. So, because this is where the fold of the paper is going back into shadow. So I'm using my pencil on its side lightly. And then I will soften it with my paper towel because I think it works rather well. So going around in circles and softening that. I hate to say smudging, but that's really what it is. But it does seem appropriate for this exercise. Okay, so you get a lovely soft shadow on that side of the paper. And this side, it's absolutely crystal white. There's hardly any shadow at all. There's a little bit of shadow down here on the corner. So I'm going to put that in.